Good morning. Welcome to another NorCal Malibro Battle Report. I did something a little different this week. We had five. Drew showed up again. He's got a couple weeks before he's got to move on to his next assignment and leave California. So that left us with five players this Thursday night. I decided to sit out and observe and do a little voyeur Malifaux and take notes, take copious notes, hopefully get some good shots, and do a battle report as an observer and kind of more about my impressions of the game and the choices made. As far as crew selection, and other than that, just kind of mostly just relate the story. I don't, there's one or two little observations I'll make about gameplay. A couple good, a couple of, decision points. I'll try to point out and, wondering, if I would have done something different or, continued with the course. As an observer, you don't have all the information. You don't, necessarily know what the control hands are looking like, or even, what the schemes that are selected. So the other thing we did this week is with the pending Gaining Grounds 1 coming out, we decided to use one of the Gaining Ground strats. So let's take a look at what we got here. So it is Colonel versus Drew. Colonel obviously did his outcast, as he's been playing a lot. Ended up taking Levi. Kind of an interesting choice given the strat and scheme pool. We'll take a look. And then Drew went with Molly. So we went with symbols of authority: flank, deployment, assassinate, outflank, power ritual, search the ruins, and harness the ley line. So, my immediate impression when looking at this strat and scheme pool is there's an awful lot of interact here. You've got symbols that require interact. You've got power ritual, search, and harness are all interact oriented schemes. You do have assassinate for some killiness, and you've got some positional in the outflank there on pretty long corner. It's flank deployment, so they'd be on the long corners there. So it'll be interesting to see what each of the players end up taking. And I was trying to guess along. Drew shared his with me. I didn't know what Colonel's was, and well, I would have suspected, and oddly enough, I probably would have been correct right off the gate on what he picked. As the game developed, I was starting to doubt my picks, and seeing he could have gone a couple different ways. But well, let's see. Let's see what the crews look like first, I guess. Actually, before we get into the crews, let's take a look at Symbols of Authority. So this is the new strategy that will be coming out with Gaining Ground Season 1. This is a remake of Symbols at the of 2E. So it is a bit different. Before deployment, starting with the defending player, each player alternates creating 4 strategy markers on their table half, at least 8 inches away from another strategy marker and not in the player's deployment zone. So that's also 8 inches away from the opposing strategy markers that are being placed. They're concealing and passable, and you pick one up. To score, you can only score 1 point per turn. This, how do I feel about this? I like it, quite honestly. I always liked symbols in the old one. That one, there was 3, and you had to, I think you scored your 4th point by defending. Either 1 or 2, can't quite remember. The only thing here is I do think that it is a little bit easier, and you're going to end up, I think, with some higher scoring. This will be a higher scoring strat in general, is going to be my guess of how this one plays out. Not this particular game, but in general. So we go with Colonels. He took Leviticus and his 2 Hollow Waves, Rusty Alice, Pride, Ashes and Dust, Malifaux Child, Necropunk, Big Jake, and Vanessa Chambers. So I think pretty straightforward. I don't think Colonel had played much against Molly, so I don't think he was teching out anything. He's been playing Pride a lot. He likes the model. I'm not sure that's a good one into Molly. He likes it for pressure on the hand. It's got an ability where you take, what is it, 4 damage unless you discard, cards, and you can lower it for every card you discard. You lower the damage by 2. But Molly's got a lot of card draw, so I'm not so sure that that's a great pick into Molly. He also loves not the anti-cheat, the cheat last bubble that Pride can throw up. Uses it at least he's used it effectively against me. Malifaux Child, I think that's the first time I've seen him on the board. Necropunk, very good scheme runner into this pool. Big Jake is probably the one out of keyword. I've never seen him take it. It's an interesting pick, and he had a very definitive plan on what to do with Big Jake. So, and it ended up working out. We'll go, we'll see at the end of the game how he ended up using them. So we got Drew's Molly, Molly Necrotic. So there is some definitive tech choices. Let's go, with the standard Archie, 2 Crueligans are, well, certainly Archie's why wouldn't you take Archie in keyword? He's so good, such a good beater with leaps. Given the scheme pool and the strat pool, just leaping models in general are going to be very good. You got the Crueligans for some mobility and scheme running shenanigans. I think the tech choices that were taken were Manos for the anti-demise, and playing into Leviticus, you can expect both Leviticus has got his demise ability, and you can put a little scare as far as assassinate in there, and then Ashes and Dust has the demise ability. So Manos alone is just a super good model, and you take it in, where there's an obvious tech choice. Why wouldn't you? Again, leaping, and I think leaping into symbols. At least I love taking Marcus into symbols, in 2E because of all the leaping you could get into the crew. So I suspect it will flow over that leaps are good in this particular strategy. The other interesting choice was Night Terrors, and they provide a 3-inch concealment bubble. It's just always on, and given the level of shooting in a typical Levi list, whether it's Rusty or Leviticus himself, and with Molly's little, ping damage, was it Karis or the Kiss of Death or whatever it's called, there's some thinking about, how often you're going to shoot and take a 2 points of irreducible damage to get the positive to cancel out that concealment. So interesting tech choice. They're fast, reasonably fast. They're flight 5. Mobile, they got some access to some pushes, so they're not always easy to get off. So pretty good schemers as well. The Bone Pile, I think, was just a concession to Assassinate being in the pool and trying to keep Molly up. Necrotic Machine, I think, heals as well. But if you look at it, Necrotic Machine and Archie are the 2 models he's going to want to use the Crueligans, was it by your side or whatever it's called, ability. So Necrotic Machine may not be close to Molly. A quick look at the table. We went back into the jungles of Malifaux, wherever that may be. I think, most of it's pretty self-explanatory with lots of concealing severe on the jungle flats. The river, we just said, was severe, going into a bubbly pool of hazardous terrain there. Most of the stone stuff is impassable in cover. The palm tree, we were playing the entire base is concealing dense severe. That would get some play early in the game. So just point that one out. All right, so we got taking a look at um, Molly's deployment. The red um, the red strat markers down are Molly's. The green ones um, are Colonel's, are Leviticus's that he's defending. Um, so you got a pretty good look. You got Molly sitting up on a hill to give some extra viewing down a couple lanes of the middle of the table. There's enough blocking out there that it isn't wide open, and you can certainly play around. You got a Night Terror sitting in the corner. Um, to the right there, you see another Night Terror, and you got Manos kind of tucked up against the piece of terrain there. Just another view of his opening deployment. You got a Kruligan. So you got a lot kind of clustered around that Lizard Man terrain for those who are ex Warhammer Fantasy Battle. Much easier to see Leviticus's deployment here in one shot. Bit more open. So you got Ashes and Dust and Big Jake sitting up in that river, as well as a Hollow Waif. You got the Hollow Waif down at the bottom here, and the remainder of the crew kind of clustered in and ready to do their best. So just another shot of the opening deployment. You can see at least three of the markers there for Leviticus. The last one's kind of behind those, right in front of his lines. Two different thought processes, I think, with the strat markers going down. Leviticus Colonel, he kind of put his along his, just outside of his deployment zone in the flank shape, versus Molly Drew. He kind of ran his along the center line, or certainly off it, not right on it, but I think part of that was he was just trying to keep things away from table edges in case Ashes and Dust splits and the Dust Storm comes out where it wants. He's got, and they're certainly more weighted towards the, as you're looking at the picture, would be the right side. Here you can only see one. You'll start seeing him. He's got one all the way at the bottom corner of the right there. He's got another one on the other side of that center piece, and then one in the flat that you can just barely see sticking up there. Here you can see three of the red strap markers here on this one. So we're getting early days. You can see the Night Terror has moved up. He dropped a ski marker in that corner. At the very least, trying to fake power ritual, if not going for it. This, I called it tentative turn one. Almost all of it was centered around taking a walk action and a focus. A lot of that this game amongst the two players as they were trying to jockey around a bit. Just a close-in shot. I wanted to get, I think Pride is the only one that had moved at this point. But taking a look at Colonel's Crude here. So this is late in the turn. Jake has gone. The Hollow Waif there has moved up. But Ashes and Dust has not gone. And Archie went in, took a swing. Hit, did some damage, and then Black Joker the very next hit or damage. But this would be the main event for probably 3 turns. There was a lot of intensity in this battle. Others would join in, and it was actually pretty fun to watch. You can see Manos has moved all the way across. That guy is fast. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Smacks Jake around for, I think he only had 1 health left at this point, and that ends the turn. So we get into turn 2. You can see some of the opening positions here. You can see a bunch of the Kruligan Night Terror. I should say one of the Night Terrors was killed by Leviticus during the turn. That's what that corpse marker you see sitting right there. That's where he was. He ended up, I think, dropping a red Joker just to make sure he, took him down. Just start wearing down the the activations. He got a soul stone out of it too, just to help out. Never hurts. Both these players went in with 2 stones apiece. No, 3 stones for Molly. So pretty light soul stone caches, given assassinate being in the pool. And that's where you can see the third. There's 3 soul stones in that diet down there. So you got the big main event up in the upper left corner. You've got Levi and his crew, Rusty and Vanessa, all kind of trying to push the center. You got a necro punk eyeing the various strategy markers, and you got a bunch of scheme runners scooting around trying to not get shot by Levi. So Molly wins the initiative, takes a bunch of swings at Ashes. I think Ashes is down to, he's hurt pretty badly. And Archie leaps away. Ashes goes, charges. God, movement 7 incorporeal is ridiculous. Just, I don't know any other way to put it. But charges away, trying to get away from Manos. And takes Archie down to, I believe, 2 wounds at this point. And so both of them are reeling pretty good, just having slugged each other. But Ashes is not long for the world, or is he? So during one of the attacks, Ashes gets the push trigger. So he pushed away, even trying to get as far away from Manos as he can. Manos kills Big Jake, and giving him fast, and then leaps over. It's only got the single swing, walk. I think had to walk, leap, and obviously gets the attack with the leap, but does not finish Ashes and Dust off. Either missed or something happened, but he did not finish him off. So it was interesting. I think all 3 of us, these 3 kind of activations were, because they're all high impact models and everything going on, we were all kind of sitting on the edge of our seat as we were playing these things out, or the players were playing them out as I was just watching. So not to monopolize the, as I call it, the main event over there. You got the Necropunk comes and clears out one of the strategy markers, and the Night Terror goes down there, tries to it's kind of a bit of a slap fight, to be quite frank. Other models are positioning around. So Pride and Vanessa move up. She gets onto her ley line. She takes a shot. This was Colonel was trying to figure out whether he wanted to focus and shoot Molly to get rid of, to get through her defenses. She's got serene continence and hard to wound, or step forward, take the walk, get onto the ley line, and take a negative flip with a +2, so a stat 8. And so he ended up doing that. He figured long term he wants to be on the ley line anyways. I think he forgot that he had battle tempo and probably could have started the turn there. Maybe not. Maybe he pushed her forward and then still needed to walk. I can't quite remember. I probably would have focused and taken the shot, knowing that the beginning of next turn I'd be exactly there. Anyways, with that said, still hit. Did a couple points of damage. Nothing spectacular. Levi joins in. Rusty walked out and took 2 shots at the necrotic machine. I think I would have shot. There was a Quilligan that's swung all the way around. I think you can see that over there, the very top there. I think I would have walked and shot the Quilligan personally, just to get rid of a fast scheme runner in my backfield. Getting through that armor 2 on the necrotic machine. I don't think Rusty's that equipped to do it, but takes a shot. I think did some points damage, but he'll end up healing some of it. Leviticus moves forward and takes a shot at Molly does some damage to himself. I should say in the first turn on that, I've completely forgotten about, the Night Terror. He was down to 2 wounds, and Manos was pretty close by. I was wondering if um, if Drew would send Manos in and try to finish Levi off with just 2 wounds, and obviously he's got stones. I don't think there was much of a hand for Drew. Maybe that did it. I asked him after, he felt that he'd just be sacrificing Manos because Rusty would still go, and Vanessa, et cetera, et cetera. So, and then Vanessa and the Malifaux child just ended up healing Leviticus back to full before anything else could happen. So you can see the bone pile has moved back towards Molly. He kind of ran around in circles for a little bit early game. So end of turn 1, both score the strategy. The Kruligan that's way up at the top there pulled up one of the green strategy markers. You can see a little slap fest down at the bottom corner here between the Necropunk, a Kruligan, and a Nightwing Terror. Yeah, not as exciting as the punching going on by the heavyweights up in the upper corner. So we get into turn 3 and get to the initiative flip. Molly's got 3 pass tokens, so expecting to win. He flips, of course, the Black Joker. We went back and forth on whether that can be cheated or not, but I think the book says that if a Black Joker is flipped, it cannot be cheated. It doesn't have to be a duel. So, Drew didn't get the initiative like he wanted, unfortunately for him. Colonel would have a pretty stout hand, and Drew had a brutally bad hand. So this is a bit of a tipping point. Colonel decides to go with Rusty, who walks forward, takes the shot at Archie, with a min 3, kills him, does rapid fire, kind of shoots behind her back and one-shots the Kruligan, which was pretty freaking amazing. And I'm thinking, oh, that couldn't have gone any better for the Leviticus player here. But guess what? It would still get better. I think just another shot showing Archie dead here. So Drew goes with Manos, who swings twice and does no damage, and leaps, gets another swing and does no damage. So Ashes and Dust sitting on 2 wounds. He's taking his ping damage to get the +1 to damage. So actually, oddly enough, I think Manos at this point is down to 3 wounds. And he's unable to finish Ashes and Dust off. It was a pretty amazing, ducking and weaving by Ashes. Again, there was a disparity in the hands, and that helped a lot. But I think, Colonel Severes must have clustered at the top of his deck, because he was also flipping a lot of Severes. He did with the shot with shooting with Rusty there, and Drew just couldn't power through it. So you can see here the Necrotic Machine had moved up, healed up Manos, helps. There is Ashes escapes, runs in preparation to flip that next marker if he can win before he dies. Levi comes around and charges. The bone pile had moved over, healed up Molly a little bit from previous damage, but between, I think did Vanessa take a shot there? I'm not sure what Vanessa was doing, quite frankly. She would end up on the other side, so this may not be the end. But Leviticus charges, charges Molly, takes her down to 3 wounds. Had one more swing, and he decides to focus instead. So at this point, while earlier in the game I thought he might be going without flank with Ashes and Dust, kind of trying to get into that corner. It's kind of clear now he's going for Assassinate. So indeed, Assassinate is declared. The Malifaux child, who is now a significant model, picked up a strat marker. So Levi declares Assassinate, picks up another strat. Molly declares Search the Ruins, and Power Ritual also picks up another strat that was sitting in the middle there. And so it's Levi 3, Molly 4, and a big initiative coming up. So Molly gets Retribution, wins this initiative. I think she had 1 or 2 pass markers anyways, pass tokens anyway, so it would have been pretty tough. And I like this shot a lot, and I'm going to talk a little bit about it. So he goes with Manos, who leaps, gets a swing. I'm sorry, had to probably walk for 1 AP, takes a swing, finishes off Ashes and Dust, is 5 inches away from Levi at this point, gaining fast. So he's got 2 more AP. Even with it being in severe at 2-inch reach, as long as you're within 5 inches, charges Levi and kills Levi. And with the anti-demise bubble, he gets the 2 for 1 in a single go. And I think this shot really shows that positioning in this game is huge. Colonel, pushed towards the marker, thinking he could maybe win initiative. I think he would have killed Molly first, to be honest. But he gave Drew the opportunity to do this. He could have just as easily have made sure that Ashes swung wider, and not allowed, just keep him 7 inches away from the marker. That's all you care about. You have to be able to run up there, but not allow kind of some efficiency on Manos' part to take both these models down in one go. If he had gone, closer to that table edge over there, because that's just barely 5 to Leviticus. I think he could have avoided this. Manos probably would have gone for Leviticus, maybe. I don't know. It's an interesting thing. Does Ashes and Dust at that point just walk twice to force what's Molly to kill him, and to pop out his two pieces with Manos running around? I think there's a lot that could have happened here, but I do think that was a mistake by Colonel's part in keeping those 2 models a little too close to each other. And it just kind of goes to show that this is a game where positioning could be crucial. Yeah, so just a shot of Manos, proving he was absolutely worth the take in this particular matchup. So this allows Molly just to run. Just ran away. I think that was just 3 walks. Get the heck out of Dodge, deny that second assassination points, try to get her healed up. So Levi's able to clear a 3rd marker off. The Necropunk got that one that's down off to the right. This is obviously the beginning of turn 5. You can see Big Jake has popped up here. So popped up and then did battle tempo. Just to get away there, if you're wondering. Bone Pile had moved over, healed up Molly some. The Necrotic Machine maybe did too. That Krilligan that was way on the other corner is now down in this corner. The Night Terror had pushed away from, or somehow had gotten away, probably pushed away from the Necrotic Punk, or the Necrotic Necropunk had leapt away to clear a marker, actually. And so moved to drop a scheme marker for Power Ritual in the other corner. But at the end of the turn, Levi gets his search this turn and a strat, but Molly missed a strat. And this is a strategy that if you don't get it every turn, you're going to find yourself with a little bit of an uphill battle here. So a bit early days again. Drew spent some time. He won the initiative. What does he do? Does he leap over and grab a sure point in the strategy? He is running out of models. He mispositioned his Night Terror. You could see down off to the right. He should have moved towards the one of the terrain on Colonel's side of the table. Instead of I don't know what he was trying to do, thinking about denying a search or something like that. So he's not in great position. So Drew is concerned he's running out of activation on how he's got to get his second power ritual down. He's got to clear a strat marker, and at this point he's got to get three ski markers down. That one you see at the top there, that is Leviticus's. There is a ski marker down for touching that one piece of terrain, but that terrain is straddling the center line, so it doesn't count. So he's got to get three ski markers down on the other side of the table, of which he's got no models on the other side of the table currently. He's got the Necropunk. He's got to pick up a strategy marker. He's got to get one in the corner, and he's got to somehow deny a point for Colonel. So he's concerned. He spent a lot of time agonizing over this decision. Another thought was to send Manos in to just try to deny, kill Jake, tie up Pride, et cetera, et cetera. He showed me his hand at this one. It was atrociously bad. It would turn out that Colonel had an equally bad hand, so both of them were playing with weak control hands. But Drew would say, I'll take the certain points, and so he sent Manos off to grab one of the strategy markers. So the Night Terror gets a lucky. I don't think he had the card in hand, but the bonus action where he can put up his anti-cheat aurora. It's got a push trigger in there, and I believe he was able to top deck it, which went a long way to kind of saving his ass a bit. So he got a 3-inch push, so he was able to fly over, drop a piece of a ski marker attached to that terrain. Honestly, that should have been a gimme anyways. He did a long overnight shift, and then he's playing, so he was probably running on fumes at this point. But we get to the end of turn 5, so you can see the power ritual marker got down. He reactivated. Not react, whatever the reactivation is that Molly can do to minions. So the Kruligan's going to go again. Rusty takes 3 shots at the necrotic machine. It has one, so it just needs to hit 3 times and do damage 3 times. It's got 3 wounds left, armor 2. He hits the first 2 times, so down to a single wound, and then I think he flipped a 10, but Drew flipped much higher. Neither of them had anything in hand that could, ensure it, and so can't get that last wound on the necrotic machine, and that would be the downfall. An option I thought he could have taken was to take a walk and then shoot the Kruligan itself, not having to deal with the armor, and then 2 min 3 hits could finish him off. I don't think there's a right answer to that, because a moderate, if he could have hit a moderate against the necrotic machine, does the same thing. So I probably would have gone for the Kruligan at the end of the day. But then the necrotic machine moves up, drops a ski marker on a piece of terrain, and the reactivated Kruligan then does by your side, walks and drops the 3rd ski marker. So he's able to get all 3 ski markers down on the opposing half, touching terrain. he gets his power ritual, and he got a strat. So he scores 3 this turn. The Levi Colonel able to get his 4 strat point as well as search. He had enough scheme runners running around to easily do that in a single turn, but can't get that last assassinate. I think at this point Molly is fully healed, so there's a fair amount of healing that was brought, the bone pile and the necrotic machine maybe. So ended up a draw at 7-7. So before kind of signing off, I wanted to talk a little bit about recover evidence, which is the other strategy that was previewed this week. I'm actually kind of excited to give this one a try. I think looks pretty interesting. I know there's some angst that Tara kind of gets killed. Well, just don't take Tara into this particular. Outcasts have a lot of good masters. Heck, Levy's probably pretty good on this one, as far as killing things, which is what you kind of this is kind of a mix of killing and interacting, similar to Turf War, which is a strategy that I really like in GG0. I think it's interesting. My crutch, my Soulstone Miner, can be partially neutralized by just handing him a marker, strat marker here. With that said, Soulstone Miner is an armor 2, likely has shielded 1, so pretty tough model that can soak up some potential damage. Also with a bit of an counter spell for what it's worth. I sit here and go, I'm still probably going to take a Soulstone Miner into this. Why not? It's an unimpeded move 5 model that's really tough, that can carry it. It just means I'm going to use them a different way. That's giving me oftentimes giving me a scheme marker not a scheme marker, a Soulstone every turn, and interacts with as a bonus action. Still a really good model. The berry thing, don't need to worry about it. I just would play them a bit differently. So, super looking forward to giving this one a try. Looking forward to GG1. Looking forward to the FAQ. Maybe I'll do a rambling. Once I've kind of played a game or two, but we'll see. So I hope you enjoyed this battle report. Kind of in the wings. I'm running a tournament, small 1-day tournament next Saturday. What I'll probably do is, instead of a battle report, do a little, debrief of what I saw. Talking to people, kind of cruise. Maybe keep us some stats on what was taken as far as masters, et cetera, et cetera. So pretty short rambling there. Maybe first impressions on GG1. I will be going to Adepticon at the end of this month, playing in the main event. I did volunteer as well with Weird. I'll be running the Henchman Hardcore on Sunday. So if any of you listeners here or viewers, what's a YouTube consumer called? A viewer, I guess. Want to say hello? You can track me down Saturday or Sunday in Chicago, either playing or helping Weird out. Hope to see you soon. Keep flipping those red jokers.